But first, I would like to request all the participants to please turn off your audio, video. And now, I request Dr. Firoza Godrej to share her thoughts on the subject. Madam, please switch on your audio and video.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am, very clear.
Admin, can you hear me? So let me add my own welcome to the speaker today, our dear friend, Mrs. Vijaya Chakravarti, and all of you to the FOT webinar this afternoon on a very interesting subject. I would like to first say that it's such a pleasure and such an honor that you all are here with us this afternoon. For those of you who are not members of the FOT, the National Society of Friends of Trees was established in 1957, and we couldn't have had a more appropriate motto: grow more trees. This is what we encourage, we inculcate, and this is what we would like you all to do. I cannot but help reflect about a little bit of our history, where we have come from and where we are today in these challenged times of COVID-19. I'm sure the late Mr. V.P. Nayak, the late Dr. Jamshed Bhabha, and the late Mr. S.P. Godrej would be really astounded to see how we are conducting our meetings today on the web. We thank them for all the encouragement and support they gave us. And we appreciate all that they did for us these 57 years while we have existed and while we have thrived. I would just like to say a few words about someone who we cannot forget on a day like today, is Mr. Nandulal Nayak, our formidable honorary secretary for many, many years. I'm sure these gentlemen are smiling down at us and encouraging us in our work forward, which is to grow more trees. It is a very interesting subject today, and I'd just like to point out 5 plants that I have selected over here for you. One is the tulsi, which you see in front of you. Associated god and goddesses, goddess Lakshmi, a medicinal value plant. Its leaves are used in toothache and with common salt, and also used to help us cure common fevers and colds. The next plant I have selected is the neem. It's also associated with religious events and gods and goddesses, and the Shitala Mata. It also has medicinal value, bark extracts, leaves and seeds, showing antifungal and antibacterial properties, and used in, of all things, curing pimples, rheumatism, ringworm, wounds and cuts. Another one that I have selected is the bale, also associated with gods, goddesses, especially Lord Shiva. Medicinal value, digestive disorders have been cured by the ripe fruits of this plant. And lastly, I bring to you the peepal, also associated with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, with medicinal properties. Moderately warm fresh leaf juice is used as eardrops, gum diseases, and prevented by root chewing. I'm really delighted that today we have with us Mrs. Vijaya Chakravarti, an esteemed scientist, an esteemed member of our organization, to address us today on ethnobotanical study of sacred plants used in Indian festivals. I will end this brief talk and wish you for yesterday. I hope you all had a lovely Raksha Bandhan and look forward to Ganesh Chaturthi. Thank you very much. I hand you over to the admin.
Thank you, ma'am, for your interesting observation. Now I would like to request all the participants, please don't touch present button. Okay, please don't touch present button. Now, I'd like to request Dr. Kothari to say a few words, please. Dr. Kothari, please switch on your audio and video, please. Kothari Sahib. Hello, Dr. Kothari. I think he's not. I am not able to connect him. So now I request Manik to introduce the speaker, Mrs. Vijaya Chakravarti.
Yes, yes.
I'm happy to introduce my good friend Vijaya Chakravarti, who will speak on ethnobotanical study of the sacred plants used in Indian festivals. Vijaya is an ecologist and landscape designer. All of us have experienced her well-researched presentations and writings. She has designed and developed beautiful spaces for leading corporates. She specializes in biodiversity parks. The one she has developed in Alibag was visited by many of our FOT members. She also specializes in butterfly gardens. She has worked on ecologically important restoration projects and learning gardens. She has developed child-friendly playscapes as well as therapeutic gardens for senior citizens. She was lecturer of sociology at St. Xavier's College, Mumbai. She has been a member of FOT since her school days. Vijaya is an active member of Indian Women Scientists Association, which promotes science among masses and scientific temperament in society. She is passionate about traveling and reading. She is also a trustee of ARAM, an NGO focusing on health and education of underprivileged children. Vijaya, we are eagerly waiting for your talk on today's very, very interesting topic. Thank you. Over to you, Sakina.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Manik, for such a lovely introduction. Good afternoon, Dr. Godrej, Dr. Kothari, Dr. Sawant, and Dr. Saraswati, and all my fellow FOTians and dear friends. Manik has already told us about my talk today. It's on the ethnobotanical study of the sacred plants used in Indian festivals. Ganesh Patri Puja, Hartalika, Vata Savitri, Kali Puja, and Tulasi Vivaha. Visiting the FOT exhibition was like a pilgrimage to us, right from my childhood. My parents used to take us there year after year. And I continued the same tradition with my children. So my love affair with plants started with FOT exhibitions. And I'm very happy to say there has been no breakup. The relationship is getting stronger and stronger by the day, in the days where there are so many breakups happening. I would like to show you the gentleman, and the priest towards the left. He is a Syrian Catholic priest from Kerala, and he uses the Kadi Patta plant to sprinkle water, the holy water, on during his congregations. Religions across the world are intimately connected with plants, some more and some less. Religions which have originated in the tropical places like the Amazon with 80,000 odd species, and the Indian subcontinent over 50,000 species, of course, the relationship here is much more stronger. But every religion, irrespective of its origins, is connected with plants. To the right, you can see a big tree. This was planted by Guru Nanak at Leh, Ladakh, when he went on his missionary expedition. And today this is, more than 400 years old, and it is huge, and it is in the mosque, and the mosque authorities protect this tree, and it is venerated by people of all religions, Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs, and it is known as the Datun Sahib. Now you can see this peddler, Arab peddler selling datun or toothbrushes, twigs made from the miswak plant. It is said in Islam that if you offer salat or namaz after brushing your teeth with miswak, it is 70 times more powerful than if you offer namaz without brushing your teeth. Islam, like most religions, stresses on hygiene and cleanliness. To the extreme right, we can see a Zoroastrian priest. He is pounding the Homa plant. Homa and Soma are very much connected. And today we really cannot identify the Soma plant, whereas the Homa comes from Afghanistan, it is imported to India from Afghanistan. Since ancient times, especially in the ancient religions, hallucinogenic plants were in demand, and people used it with discipline, unlike in today's age when drug abuse is, rampant. So these hallucinogenic plants helped you to connect with your ancestors for prophesying also. Earlier in the ancient cultures, we had human sacrifices. From human sacrifices, we moved to animal sacrifices. Goats were sacrificed, then hens, chickens were sacrificed. And from there, now we are slowly moving towards vegetables as sacrificial objects, especially the ash gourd. It's round like a human head, and the coconut. And in fact, the coconut has got a very hard outer covering like a skull, and it's got 3 marks, like the eyes and the nose. I remember one of my nephews, he married a Japanese girl. And during the wedding ceremony, the priest broke a coconut, and the sound was so much that this girl literally jumped out of the wedding seat. What are the objectives? Basically, I'm going to talk about what is ethnobotany, a little bit about the sacred plants, and the importance of Ritu and Ritu Sandhi. Ritu is season, and in Ayurveda, the period between 2 seasons, that is the last day of spring on the first 10 days of the summer, are known as Ritu Sandhi. And this is a period when sickness is most rapid, between autumn and winter, between summer and monsoon. And then, of course, I will be talking about a few festivals. And as FOTians, we need to look at the way forward. What is ethnobotany? Ethnobotany is the scientific study of the interaction between plants and people. It was coined by John William Hershberger, but it was Richard Ivan Schulz who studied at Harvard, and he is known as the father of ethnobotany. He apprenticed himself to the shaman in the Amazon forest because he felt that with 80,000 different species of plants, it is not possible to study all of them. So it is far easier to select plants which are familiar to the local people and which the local people have already studied. Dr. S.K. Jain is known as the father of Indian ethnobotany. Thanks to him, we were able to win the battle in the US High Courts against the patenting of turmeric. He wrote a book, on the ethnobotany, economical plants. And there he mentioned turmeric and the healing powers of turmeric, which were known across India and which were also documented in our ancient texts. Well, today, Modi ji's latest education plan says education should be multidisciplinary. Children should be able to learn natural sciences as well as humanities. Now, ethnobotany is a very interdisciplinary subject. It takes into consideration the study of domestication of plants, that is agriculture, then anthropology, that is cultural anthropology, where you study different cultures, and archaeology. If you look at the bottom, you can see the Harappan seal of the ficus tree, the peepal tree. And next to it is the cinchona plant. Cinchona plant was known in Peru, and they were using it for high fevers. But it was only when the Governor General's wife, the British Governor General's wife, fell sick with malaria, and the cinchona drug was used on her by the local shaman, that cinchona and malaria came to be associated, and its use was spread across the world. And linguistics. So there are three important things in the study, most important in the study of ethnobotany. One is anthropology. The second is botany. It's important to be able to identify plants and also to preserve them. If you go to St. Xavier's College, you have a huge herbarium over there, maintained very meticulously to date. And then, of course, linguistics, language. Unless you know the language of the culture you want to study, it is impossible to study it. So in this study, Marathi, English, and little bit of Bengali have been used. And before that, I would like to thank more than 24 of my friends, acquaintances, people who are intimately connected with the rituals I'm going to talk about today. What is the importance of ethnobotany? See, when children go into their neighborhoods to collect the plants for Hartalika Puja, the parents, especially the mothers, teach them and help them to identify the plants. They also tell them the economic and the medicinal value of these plants. And this knowledge is transferred to the later generations. If you look at the 21 plants used as Patri Puja for Ganesh Chaturthi, you find some edible plants, some toxic, poisonous plants like the datura, very sweet, luscious fruit like the mango, and then the tiny, sour borka plants. And then you have huge trees like the peepal Madam Godrej was mentioning, and the tiny grass, durva, and Vishnukranta. So when you learn to identify plants and we learn to use them, naturally you learn to conserve these plants. Next, we come to the festivals. Every country, every religion has festivals. Of course, in Hinduism, there are much more festivals, than all the religions combined together. There are two types of celebrations for religious festivals. One is a celebration where you celebrate the birth of an eminent personality like Jesus Christ, and Christmas. Or you celebrate Janmashtami, that is the birth of Krishna. And there are festivals you celebrate New Year, like Pateti. This is a time during festivals to greet each other, to even call them up. We live in distant spaces. So it's nice to pick up your phone and talk to them. And of course, today we can have Google Meets. And in fact, yesterday in my daughter's house, a whole family, my son-in-law's family, the whole entire family met in spite of the lockdown. And it was very nice, greeting each other and exchanging bits of information. Then you look at the little children, the tiny tots from a nursery school. They're learning the tradition of Rangoli, exchanging of sweets. There are also festivals which are called vrats, where you fast, like the Eid. You fast for 40 days, and after the end of 40 days, you share and you feast. Of course, in Eid, you're also feasting because Quran was revealed towards the end of the Ramzan period. Similarly, you have Easter, where people fast for a number of days during Lent, 40 days, and then there is celebration. You have eggs painted, and here you can see little children collecting eggs. And another thing is when Tilak wanted to oust the British from India, he came across a plan. He says, why not have a Sarvojanik Ganesh Utsav, where people from all communities gather together and celebrate. And so this brings the whole community together. I remember I used to live in a place called Mysore Colony in Chembur. And there we had a tradition that any child, girl or boy, who passed the 10th standard and was in the 11th would be nominated as the secretary of the Ganesh Mandal. And here he learned how to organize games, how to do decorations, the cuisine, the prasad to be made. And he was always under the guidance of the chairman, who was a senior person. Shad Ritus. In India, we have 6 seasons. Shad is 6, Ritus are seasons. That is, we have an early winter and a late winter. And it is a time during Vasant or spring when there is a lot of pollen in the air. And I remember my daughter, Gina, when she was a baby, she would erupt into rash and it was uncontrollable and no allopathic medicine would work on her. So finally the doctor said, why don't you give her Phenargan? Phenargan induces sleep. I mean, I was terrified, to give her Phenargan. And there was this lady doctor, next to me who was working in BARC. And she says, why don't you apply mustard oil? I was shocked. I said, mustard oil? I mean, it's stinking. We from Maharashtra and down, so, we are not familiar with mustard oil. But believe me, 5 minutes after I applied mustard oil, her rash would vanish. So most of the festivals would come in seasons, and the plants used had medicinal properties to heal those sicknesses. So just imagine, I think all of you, please close your eyes and imagine a hot summer's day. There is out in the fields, there is no shelter. And what will happen? A heat stroke, of course. And food gets, rotten very easily in the heat, resulting in food poisoning. Then we have the Varsha Rutu or the monsoon. Ganesh Chaturthi comes right in the middle of the monsoon. And that's the time when people get wet and the water gets contaminated. Then finally, we have the winter. We really don't have winter, but a cold season, where people get depressed, when it's constantly cold, or when you're up, where our soldiers are fighting in Siachen, it is depressingly cold. And so there are many medicines and plants used, to help you get out of depression, get out of your cold and cough. I met, once when SIDCO was having an exhibition, the Godrej horticulturists refused to come and participate. They said it was too much of effort, too much of money to be spent, and too much of energy to be lost. So time, money, and energy. So I went and approached Mr. S.P. Godrej, and he told me, he says, wherever we have an exhibition in and around Vikhroli, we should participate. And then his whole team came and participated. I was young then, a young landscaper. And he gave me one advice which I follow till date. He said that the ficus plants are the keystone species of India. And if you want to bring back the biodiversity, then you must plant the ficus species, because they attract a lot of birds, butterflies, bees, small animals, squirrels, etc. The ficus plants are venerated across the globe, perhaps because they're large and mighty. People look up at them, and they're also long living. I was in Pretoria in South Africa, and they took me to see one plant, one ficus specimen. I cannot recollect which it was, but they said it was around 1,000 years old. I mean, the main mother plant. And there were 3 layers of daughter trees. It occupied a huge area. Of course, I would like to tell you a little bit about Vata Savitri. Vata Savitri is a puja done under the banyan tree. And Savitri was a princess married to Satyavan. And Satyavan was destined to die exactly a year after their marriage. So, and her father-in-law is deposed and is blind, and they all live in the forest. So one day, Satyavan, on the day he's supposed to die, he's destined to die, he goes into the forest to chop wood, and Savitri accompanies him. And after some time, he's exhausted and he cannot move, and he lies down under the banyan tree with his head on Savitri's lap. Now the banyan gives immense oxygen and its medicinal properties. Lying down underneath the banyan tree, he started absorbing all the good features of the banyan tree, and he started feeling better and better and better. But he was destined to die. So Yama comes and he tries to take him away, and Savitri sings, praises Yama. Most Hindu gods love to be praised. So he says, okay, I will give you 3 boons, but do not ask for the life of your husband. So she says, fine. She says, give my father-in-law back his eyesight and his kingdom. Give my father 100 children because I'm the only child. And she says, give me 100 children. Now Yama is strict. I mean, how can she have kids without a husband? So finally, he gives her husband back to her. Now we come to Hartalika Vrat. You remember, Vata Savitri has taken place in summer, in May, when it is hot and the ladies enjoy being under the tree. Now we come to Hartalika. During Hartalika, the women make shivling out of the sand, and then they offer different leaves to the god. And the origin of Hartalika Vrat is that Parvati's father wanted her to get married to Vishnu, because Vishnu was supposed to be a very handsome and very powerful deity. But Parvati was head over heels in love with Shiva. She had never met Shiva, but she heard about him. So her friends abduct her and take her into the forest. And there she does penance, and she survives on chutney made out of grass, durva grass, and she does berries and roots. And then Shiva is very happy with her penance, and he marries her. There are certain flowers which are offered to Hartalika during Hartalika Puja, and all of them have medicinal values. If you look at the jasmine, my son Tarang, when he was young, he would collect all these hibiscus flowers and he would wait for me to come back home. And I would take a transparent tumbler and put these hibiscus petals in and pour hot water. Of course, I would put a teaspoon so that heat is conducted and the glass doesn't break. And then when I squeezed a lemon, as if by magic, the colorless liquid turned ruby red. And then, of course, with little sugar and honey, he would enjoy it. And hibiscus juice is very popular in Persia and is used as a cooling agent. Well, the mogra, the jasmine tea is made out of it, and then the Sindhis make a beautiful sharbat with the mogra flowers, and it's supposed to be once again very cooling to the body. I attended a wedding in Andhra Pradesh. It was very hot. It was in summer, and then I had some cousins coming, from all over the world, and they told me, says, Vijaya, we must go to the cinema hall. This is the season that when you go to the cinema hall, you're filled with the fragrance of the mogras. So I said, this was an experience, I never had. So I said, why not? I took up their challenge and we went. But believe me, there was not a single, they said, all the women would be wearing gajaras in their hair. And as young boys, they would look at these, the lovely hair of the girls. But believe me, there was not a single girl with long hair. And most of them had short hair, or like me, they were in ponytails. And there were hardly one or two wearing flowers in their hair. And the theater hall just smelled of cigarette smoke. This is all about the bakul tree. If you see the Sita's Ashoka, this is one of the ancient remedies for infertility and women's diseases. Then we have the Champaka. They say fragrance, smell triggers memory, and it keeps Alzheimer's and dementia at bay. These days, I don't know if there are any young boys over here, but it's very, very difficult to get even one girlfriend. Some of my friends say it's very difficult to find a bride for their sons, because girls are extremely choosy. They don't want to move to a country where they cannot get a proper job, or they don't want to move out of their hometown because they're well settled over there. But Krishna would attract hundreds of gopikas. How did he do it? He had the whole setting done. He would choose the evergreen bakul tree, and under its shade, he would play the flute. And the bakul flowers had lovely fragrance. Even the dried bakul flowers have a lot of fragrance. And then there were the berries. If the gopikas were hungry or a little thirsty, they could always, nibble on these berries. And of course, the handsome Krishna. So they had hundreds and thousands of gopikas would surround him. So there are other plants used in Haritalika, and many of the plants are also similar to those used in Ganesh Patri Puja. You have the Kaner, which attracts a lot of butterflies. Butterflies lay their eggs on Kaner and Rui plants, Calotropis and Oleander. And these caterpillars absorb the toxins from these plants, and these toxins are carried over into the butterflies. And these butterflies have warning colors telling the predators that if you touch me, you are going to die or you're going to feel terribly uncomfortable. And these butterflies, unlike the non-poisonous ones, have very slow flight. It's as if they say, will you dare to come and touch me? Then we move on to the first movement of ecofeminism and local participation, local environmental movement. It was in the 1700s in the village of Khejarli in Rajasthan. The Maharaja of Jodhpur, he wanted to erect his palace over there. So he ordered the felling of a number of Kejri trees. Please remember, Kejri is the Kalpa Vruksha of Rajasthan. Its leaves are like fodder, and its seed pods are eaten. It's a delicacy. I'm forgetting the name of the seed pod, but it's a delicacy there. The wood is utilized, and it gives you shade in the desert environment. So the women, led by Amrita Devi and her 3 daughters, protested against the felling of the trees. And more than 300 women lost their lives. Then the Maharaja of Jodhpur decreed that no Kejri trees will be felled henceforth. Now we go forward in a couple of hundred years. In the 1970s, the Indian government, in Uttarakhand, wanted to make a road, along the Himalayas. So they ordered the felling of a number of trees. And we have Gaura Devi and her friends who started the Chipko Andolan. They would hug the trees. They all belonged to the Bishnoi community. They all would hug the trees and prevent people from cutting them. Well, these are some of the medicinal properties. We have the aghada, which is used for brushing teeth and for childbirth. Then Shevanti, that is chrysanthemum. See, I have used the Marathi names. Shevanti or the chrysanthemums, which is used for fever and headache. In the Japanese throne is known as the chrysanthemum throne. Now we come to Ganesh Patri Puja, Ganesh Ekavati Patri Puja, that is offering of 21 leaves. Yama, the god of death, had a son called Anala Sundara. And Anala Sundara was causing havoc among the Devas. So the Devas approached Lord Ganesha and he says, please help us do something. So Lord Ganesha, he swallows Anala Sundara. But Anala Sundara, the minute he enters the belly of Ganesh, he was quite comfortable. Ganesha has a huge belly. He starts, creating fire. And Ganesha wreathes in pain. His whole body, his whole stomach is on fire. And all the Devas try to extinguish the fire by pouring water on him, but nothing, and giving him some cool sharbat to drink, but to no avail. So they finally go to Ganesha's father Shiva and they tell him, please give us a solution. Then Shiva says, cover his belly with leaves. There are many leaves, like the jasmine leaf, which is a great healer. They say anything which cannot be healed by any other medicine can be healed by the jasmine leaves. And the jasmine leaves are also coolants. So similarly, people and all the leaves, they covered his stomach and the fire in his belly cooled down. Pomegranate is one of the fruits, of course, my favorite. And every part of the pomegranate is useful. Even the rind is used, for skin problems. I have, my tenant, he keeps on sending me forwards. He was in Dubai for some time and he learned about the value of the pomegranate, how the roots are useful, the leaves are useful, every part of the pomegranate is useful. And pomegranate is sacred to the Parsis. When the priests make the homa, they also use twigs of the pomegranate along with the homa plant. And of course, it was a favorite of the Mughals. And it's also an excellent dye. It's a natural dye. And all of you must be remembering people in our childhood, we would soak it in water, the people leaves. And then once the chlorophyll is out, we would dry them and we would paint. If you look at the Calotropis plant on the extreme right, it is highly medicinal. In fact, the root of the plant is also used as a medicine. So there has been indiscriminate felling of this tree. And besides that, we Mumbaikars or anyone in contemporary, especially in our lockdown areas, are full of stress. Either we have loans, we bought something, a car or a home without sufficient money, or we have lent money to someone else and that person is not returning the money, or we are having some affairs of the heart which are not working out. So all of us pray to Hanuman to give us peace of mind and to solve these problems. But then what do? We pluck all the leaves of the Calotropis and we make a garland and put it on Hanuman's neck. And this has led to the destruction of the Calotropis plant. And Calotropis is such a beautiful plant. Even the flowers are so nice. I was designing a garden in Walkeshwar, and they had a French architect, and he had never seen a Calotropis plant. And first time in my life, I was told, why don't you introduce Calotropis, in the landscape? Then I realized the beauty of the Calotropis plant. Then on the extreme left, we have the Shami or the Kejari plant, where the Pandavas hid their weapons when they went into Ajnatavas. And next to it is the Hadga or the Sesbania grandiflora. The leaves of this plant are very high in vitamin A, and they're supposed to be excellent for the teeth. I remember when my kids were young, we used to make carrot juice for them. It's quite a painful process, grating it and then making it. And all we needed to do was take Hadga. And Hadga plant, Sesbania grandiflora, is a very quick grower. I had gone to Kadiyam. This is one of the largest plant nurseries in the world. And across, for hundreds of miles, you will see only plant nurseries, plants growing. And there they would use the Hadga sticks to give shade to the plants. Then, of course, the famous story of Shabari and Ram, and how Shabari tastes the fruit of the berries before offering. The leaves of the berry bore are made into chutney, and the bore is extremely rich in vitamin C and gives you a lot of immunity, exactly what we need in the COVID times. All of you must have heard of Cleopatra. Like our Maharani Gayatri Devi, Cleopatra was one of the most beautiful women in the world. And she would use Nirgudi, Vitex negundo leaves in her bath, so that her skin was blemishless. Madam Godrej was mentioning about the neem plant, the neem leaves, how they keep pimples away. When I was in college, I had a friend, Padmini, a very beautiful girl, and she had joined the Miss India contest. And at the time of the contest, just before the contest, her whole face erupted into pimples. And her mother, she would grind the neem leaves and apply it on her face and give her, in her bath water, she would add the Nirgudi leaves. And believe it or not, she was flawless at the time of the contest, and she became a runner-up. Most of you may not be aware that the Devanagari script of Marathi is of recent origin. We adopted it post-independence. Before that, we were using the Modi script. And you can see the connection between Maharashtra and Sri Lanka. The King Ravana's mother was a great devotee of Gokarna Mahabaleshwar. He was an incarnation of Shiva, and she would come from Lanka every year along with her sons to pray to Lord Mahabaleshwar of Gokarna. So once she came with her son Vibhishana, the gentle giant, and after the puja was over, the Bilva Patra leaves, the Nirmalya, were in a waste basket. And as is a habit with people of those days, he picked up a pinch of Nirmalya, of bay leaves, Bilva Patra leaves, and put it on his turban. And at that time, there was a Brahmin praying. And he was so frightened looking at the giant Vibhishana that he hid himself in the basket of Bilvapatra leaves. And so in the little pinch of the giant, the Brahmin got onto the turban and landed in Lanka. And he was there in Lanka for a year, and there he learned the Modi script. And next year, when Vibhishana came back, he came back again on his turban, and he taught the Modi script to the people of Gokarna and the surrounding areas. And Shivaji Maharaj adopted the Modi script for government records. It's only now post-independence that the Modi script has gone and we have adopted the Devanagari script. So there are very few people who can read the Modi script, and we're finding it very difficult to read the records of the past. course, we have the mango, which will make the famous avakai pickle, and the kevda. It's very strange. It is only the flowers of the male kevda plant that have this fragrance. And more than 90% of the kevda flowers and kevda essence comes from the Ganjam district of Orissa. So my grandmother, my dadi, her ancestral home, maternal home was on Gopalpur on sea in the Ganjam district. And when we used to drive there to her place, we would see huge plantations of these kevda plants, and they help to protect the soil so there's no soil erosion. We come to the aghada, from the toothbrush to childbirth. Aghada is a very tiny plant, but it is a very, very powerful herbal medicine. Om Gruharajaya Namaha Apamarga Patram Samarpayami. That is what we say when you offer the flower, the leaf to God. And a lot of toothbrushes are made, datun are made out of the twigs of the Apamarga. The other day, I met a friend of mine, a Sindhi lady, and she was telling me when they have the Teej festival, as a young girl, they were not allowed to put lipstick. So the walnut stick has got a red dye, and after chewing, they would, innocently apply it on their lips so that the lips were red. Of course, during Hartalika and Teej festival, the women were dressed like brides. Then we have the Arjuna, the tall, towering tree. And Arjuna Rishta is a very well-known drug used for heart problems. Then the Durva grass. Durva is known to be the second most sacred plant after Tulasi in Hinduism. Then the Vishnu Kranta, which is a ground cover, ground hugging plant. Look at the Arjuna, a towering tree, and the Vishnu Kranta flowers, blue flowers, they're ground hugging. And you find them mostly in the Deccan Plateau of Pune, Hyderabad, and Bengaluru. So this is very good for memory. So they make medicine which will enhance the memory. And this is, of course, some of the medicinal uses of the Ganesh Patri Pujas. I have not listed all the 21 because some of them are common to Hartalika and have been listed ahead before. So we have the Bringaraj, or Maka as it is known in Marathi, the famous Bringaraj oil, along with hibiscus oil, and Brahmi is used for hair care. The Brahmi plant was seen earlier, and it resembles, this is not the real Brahmi, but it is commonly known as the Brahmi, and it looks like, its shape is like that of a brain. It is said in Ayurveda that whichever part of the body the leaf resembles, or the stem resembles, or the flower resembles, it is good for that part of the body. Hence, Brahmi is supposed to be excellent for memory and for hair. Then we have a plant called Harjod. Of course, it is not used in puja. It looks like bones, and it is used in Siddha medicine, the most ancient system of medicine in India for bone care. Finally, we come to Kali Puja. In Kali Puja, there is a tradition of Choddo Shak, which is offered as prasad. Choddo Shak means the use of 14 leafy vegetables. I have listed out the Marathi and the Bengali names of the plant. The Costus speciosus, or the spiral ginger. It's a very attractive plant. And it's called Pev in Marathi and Kev in Bengali. You can make excellent chutney out of it. And when you eat, food is medicine, and medicine is food. That is what is said in Ayurveda and even Siddha medicine. So when you cook and eat these medicinal plants, you imbibe them into your body. Then we have the Suran, which is, a big gourd which grows, root which grows underground. and the shoot which comes up annually is very tall, and the leaves are used in choddo shak. I was talking to you about the mustard oil and my baby daughter. When she had rash and we used to apply mustard oil, instantly within 5 minutes, she would recover. Then there is another well-known vegetable, the batua, also known as beto in Bengali, which is made into parathas, it's made into sabzi. But what I want to tell you about is this plant, Alternanthera sessilis. My mother would always tell me this story as a child, about a young poor widow with 6 children and her old and blind mother-in-law. The mother-in-law could not walk nor see, and she would lie in bed day in and day out. And this poor young widow, she would gather some herbs from the garden, and every day she would give her the same thing. It is called ponnaganti. And day in and day out, this old lady would eat, because there was no way she could complain and nobody would hear her complaints. But after 3 months of continuous eating of salinche or koipa, the lady got up, ramrod straight, her eyes shining like buttons, and her face gleaming like gold. Ponnaganti in Telugu means gold, gold-like. And this is known as a medicinal cure for eyes. It's excellent for eyes, and it is excellent for the skin. And it makes a delicious, if you saute it, a sauté dish, you can saute the greens and it tastes absolutely yummy. This is on the left is the bhokar. It's also called seluka. And these bhokar fruits have got gum in them. And traditionally, they were used to seal letters. The gum inside was used to seal letters. And the leaves are nice and round, and it's a very attractive plant. And the fruit is used to make pickles. Then, of course, we have the Cassia sopera, where they make tincture. It's a homeopathic drug. And then finally, we have the neem. Madam was showing us about the neem, so I need not tell about the medicinal properties of the neem. There was a young girl, newly married girl, and her honeymoon was over, and her husband was a traveling businessman. So he had to leave her and go, selling his wares. She was desperate. So she approaches the Vaidya, or the medicine man, and she tells him that my husband is going away. I'm most uncomfortable. What shall I do? Please see that he doesn't go. So he says, the medicine man says, no, let him go, but tell him that on the way for his business trip, he must sleep under the tamarind tree. And when he's returning home, he must sleep under the neem tree. So her husband, he is infatuated with his wife, so he listens to her, and every day he sleeps under the tamarind tree. And the acidic vapors from the tamarind tree make him sick, and he gets sicker and sicker and sicker. And finally, he cannot take it anymore, and he stops his work and begins his return journey. So on his return journey, he sleeps under the neem tree, and the medicinal properties of the neem make him better and better and better. And finally, when he reaches home to his village and to his wife, he is hale and hearty. All of you are aware of Swami Ramdev. I once attended his one-day shibir on Women's Day. And he gave this guduchi, Tinospora cordifolia stem as prasad. So I brought it home and I planted it. And it became a vigorous creeper. And this is, in fact, prescribed by the Ayush for to build immunity during the COVID days. And this plant has got many, many, many benefits. And there is a story of Lord Rama, his monkey and bear warriors have been killed by Ravana's soldiers. And he prays to Lord Indra, asking Lord Indra to bring back his warriors back to life. So Indra sprinkles some amrit from the heaven, and all the warriors, the monkeys and the bears, regain life. And the few drops which fall on the earth turn into guduchi plant. Guduchi is also known as amrit. Then, of course, on the left, we have the pointed gourd. Pointed gourd is supposed to be very good for weight loss. The medicinal values of the choddo shak, the 14 plants used in choddo shak, for cough and cold, for bowel movement, for skin, for insomnia, Cordia dichotoma, the lasonda or bhokar is excellent for insomnia. Today many people suffer from insomnia. This is an excellent remedy. I mean, just look at this. This is fascinating. Out of the 14 green leafy vegetables, 13 of them belong to 13 different families. It's simply amazing. This is the diversity. This is how, for thousands of years, we protected the biodiversity of our region. Of course, now we come to the final festival, that is the Tulasi Vivaha, which is celebrated during winter or the cold season. This is the season when you have a lot of colds and coughs and you need to build up your immunity. So amla, they light diyas on amla and they cook it. Amla is used. Then tulsi. Tulsi is supposed to have had 200 different compounds which are beneficial to humans. And then the ganna or the sugarcane, which gives you energy, because in winter, you need something. And it is not processed, so it's not harmful. In the monsoons, when you drive away from Bombay or Pune, you see the whole countryside full of yellow flowers. These are the takla flowers or cassia tora. The tender leaves make a delicious vegetable, and the seeds are used as a coffee substitute. The Cinchanu plant and the takla attract a lot of bees and butterflies. What is Nirmalya? Traditionally, the leaves used during puja are called Nirmalya. And the very fact that you have these leaves in your house for a number of days, like Ganesh Puja, we do it for 3, 5, 7, 9 days. So these leaves are in your home, giving off the medicinal properties. Then you have the toran. Most homes in India have a toran with mango leaves and jhendu, marigold flowers. See, marigold is a pest repellent. Because of the smell of the marigold, pests are kept at bay, and the mango leaves absorb toxins. The banana leaves, normally we decorate the pandal at home with banana stems, and banana leaves have huge, a large space, surface space, and it absorbs dust. So these plants gave good beneficial properties within the home, and when you immerse them in water, they transmitted the medicinal properties into the water. So during monsoons, the water used to get contaminated and there were a lot of waterborne diseases, but when these leaves and flowers were immersed in water, all the good properties were imbibed by the water. But unfortunately, what are we doing? We are putting plastics, POCs, we're making huge idols and immersing them in water. Actually, the practice is to make small clay idols and immerse in water. But now, good, environment, eco-friendly Ganpatis are coming up, and all the Nirmalya, the flowers and the leaves used for puja are being converted into compost. Come to the final. To recap, ethnobotany is the interaction between people and plants. To study ethnobotany, you need to know anthropology, botany, and linguistics, because through botany, you can identify and preserve plants, and through language, you can understand the culture and the terminology better. And the importance of festivals: if there are no festivals, it is like, Wednesday every day. So when it's on Wednesday, you have Monday, Tuesday, days of working, and Thursday, Friday. So every day is a Wednesday. So you need a break from the monotony. And most of these plants have both medicinal, culinary, and ecological and economic uses. But it's not just enough to share one's experiences and one's learnings. There should be a way forward. And as FOTNs, we always must look for a way forward. Certain books, Menaka Gandhi's on mythology of Indian plants, Firoza Godrej, A Symbiosis of Industry and Nature, where she nicely illustrates the different plants and the butterflies and the birds. It's a lovely book. And then, of course, Sunita Narayan, she talks about the first foods. If you look at Chodo Shah, it is one of the first ancient foods. So there are many foods which we are getting. And in her book, she revives all the old books. And Prakash Paransabe's book on herbs for beauty. And of course, Mr. Jain's, A.K. Jain's book on ethnobotany and the medicinal plants. What next? Learn the connection between your culture and plants. Before the generation before you disappears, learn from them and mentor your next generation. Your next generation, your children and grandchildren will learn. And unless you have this, no amount of learning has any use. Grow your own plants and learn to make use of your plants. Make use of the leaves, flowers, and the seeds and the fruits of the flowers, of the plants. And if you have any questions, please go ahead, or even later, you can contact me. Thank you very much. All plants have a purpose. Everything on this earth, there is purpose. And as Ayurveda says, there is nothing useless. There is no useless plant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you, Vidya. It was a very excellent presentation. And I am sure everybody like it too. Now I am requesting Tushar to take up the question. Hello, Tushar.
Yeah, I'm here.
Take up the question.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm sorry I joined late, Tushar, but I could catch some important part of this webinar. Very interesting, the facts that I never knew, that takala seeds can be for the coffee, the madam has said. So very widely in our forests, our fields, we use the delicious young foliage of takala early monsoon as a delicious vegetable. But in of legumes which contains beautiful seeds, no one here in this Maharashtra at least knows they are substitute for a coffee seeds, number one. Number two, the master she mentioned about a beautiful pink spade-like plant. It grows very well in a marshy or a humid area, and it also grows, beauty of that, in a dry land where in a summer also it grows. It's like a succulent. She mentioned the name Peva, but we call it Peva, and you can cut the stems. Sorry if you don't tell. You can just chew it and substitute your thirst by this one, But very important, she added, it is also edible and you can make chutney. Amazing fact. So plenty of Peva grows, we have lots of chutneys.
Thank you, Dr. Sawant. And friends, really, actually, I am speechless. What a fantastic presentation, Vijaya. And really, very informative. And you must have heard when Manik told she is a sociology teacher and not a botany teacher. If I wish you were my botany teacher, I would have cracked the boards. 200 out of 100. She has covered all religions and such a fantastic information about the leaves and plants. Basically, I was told, like, these plants which we use, or the leaves and the flowers, fruits which you use, it's a kind of audit when you do what are the plants are around you. And that is what is the importance in your festivals, in all the religions it is taken. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to our President Firoza ma'am to select very special plants. Thank you, Dr. Kothari, for being here. Sakina, it was a great presentation, very smooth, very fantastic, and all the volunteers here. Most important, all participants. And Vijay, it's very surprising. Normally, like, we see very rush of people joining, and at the end we see of not even 50% people. But throughout your presentation, 90% plus people were present. It was such a fantastic, and really, even I learned a lot. So, see, even for the vote of thanks, only 10 people has left. So,
oh, no questions.
Sir, normally questions are there when you don't
no
know.
comments also.
No, comments are lot there. Like, people are saying thank you. And the presentation was so clear.
That time I could not speak because there was some difficulty in connection.
Yes. But we know you are always there behind us. So
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you
support
for
is there. So Vijaya, this is really, I would to come to your place now. Lots of sceneries you prepare with these flowers and the plants. Yes, we have tested your hibiscus kada at Friends of Trees exhibition. So thanks again to all the people who have made this very successful, and people in front and behind the scene. And thank you very much, and looking forward few more seminars in this lockdown period. Yes.
Excuse me, Tushar, one question is, Punaganti vegetable means what?
Ponnaganti is Alternanthera sessilis. Ponnaganti is a Telugu word. Ponna means gold, and it stands for Alternanthera sessilis, which is excellent for the eyes and the skin. It's very commonly available in Maharashtra also, in Bengal also. It is part of the Chodoshak.
Acha,
Oh,
okay.
Amruta or Gulwel grows in pots in Mumbai.
Yeah.
Amruta.
Yeah, Amruta grows very well. Guduchi in Maharashtra.
Gujarati. The crush and white powder is useful as tonic.
Yes, you can also make a kadha, doctor, with it. Boil the stem in water and cut it into pieces, crush it and boil. It's excellent for immunity. In fact, the government is recommending that we take. And it grows very easily. It's a very rampant climber.
Kothari side. Dr. Kothari.
Yes. There is Khijadano Vas in Ahmedabad after
what?
Shami tree.
Yes.
And about the neem tree, it's not growing that well in this city. We tried number of times. We are bringing 1,000 trees. But the librarian of British Library came to Mumbai and he told us, keep the dried leaves in the books. You can preserve your books. And we are preserving in my library, Library of Bombay National Society also. You missed you covered all this, but then Shankh-Pushpi and Kakad.
Pushpi.
Shankh-Pushpi, Clitoria tenacia.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was not part of, I picked up only
otherwise
4 or 5 festivals. I picked the plants from those.
Should bring out a book on this. This is so many plants you have covered which are so much beneficial. And I think most of trees and plants you have covered. Uttarajiva you have forgotten. And Bakul, I wanted to tell, Bakul lasts for 300 years. We planted 50 trees at SNDT, and now they have started giving flowers and fruits. Other day I went there, told the girls that you can eat the fruits. Now they have started. They were afraid of eating the fruits. And scented flowers are so good. I remember my father used to collect during his old age. He was very fond of it, planted so many Bakul trees. And his memory I am planting everywhere.
Excellent. Thank you.
Vidya, one question from Doreen Desa. What is the name of the plant to treat insomnia?
Insomnia, there are several plants, those which are related to memory. Even those can be used to treat insomnia. And also nutmeg. Nutmeg is one plant which is used to treat insomnia.
Yes, Usha Desai ma'am, we recorded the lecture and we put up on the group.
Yes,
What
so
seed you have to use?
I have a question, Vijaya.
Is
Pardon?
it a plant or a seed or nutmeg? Nutmeg as a seed.
Nutmeg is a tree, and you use the seed of the
No,
thing. Nutmeg.
yeah, use seed. So,
Yeah.
what
The
does it
fruit.
cure? Is a seed or plant to cure insomnia?
No, the fruit of the thing, nutmeg.
Fruit or
Tree,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Vijaya, I have a question.
Yeah, Madik.
Which plant is used to increase memory in early childhood for, in the age of 3 to 6?
3 to 6, which plant is used? Actually, Guduchi is good for all age levels. Amrita, you can use it across ages.
And Sanpushpi also.
Shankapushpi also. In fact, you can make a lovely sharbat with Shankapushpi. I
what-
put it in water and squeeze a lemon. It becomes a lovely blue. Without lemon, it is dark blue, and with lemon, it becomes violet. And it's fascinating to children.
What about
I-
Brahmi? There is one kind of Brahmi which is very medicinal, supposed to increase. What is it called? What Brahmi? There is some word,
Bacopa moneri?
Brahmi.
Bacopa moneri.
Okay. Bacopa
Moneri. Moneri.
Muneri. Okay. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vidya.
Thanks,
About
Rita.
Sanpushpi,
Yeah.
my nephew used to come to my native place and used to collect Sanpushpi flowers. He was eating. And afterwards, he stood second in Bombay Institute in Inter-Science. Then, since over 50 years, he is a distinguished professor in America. But then always, he used to come to Disa and collect from the all around town. He used to collect Sanpushpi flowers. And he was eating.
Yeah. In fact, dried Shankapushpi flowers are available on the Amazon. People, in Indonesia, Malaysia, they use Shankapushpi in their cuisine. It gives color.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to make one comment, Dr. Vijaya. That was an excellent talk. And may I invite you to get this talk down in writing with the images. And the next Vanashobha will probably be online. And we will definitely be inviting you to participate and contribute to this edition of Vanashobha online. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Tried to
It's my
slip in the
pleasure.
question. And thank you very much. Yes, we've had over 80 to 90 participants with us for this last 1 hour and 20 minutes, which I think is excellent. Thank you, Sakina. Thank you, the tech team. It's really worked out well. And I look forward to seeing it on YouTube. I don't want to take up more time, so I'll just stop now and let you all continue.
Thank you.
yes, thank you, ma'am. Your presence was inspiring, and really, will go on. All the participants will definitely keep getting this. We request all the participants to be a part of FOT. It's a very lovely experience. It's happening throughout, in lockdown or without lockdown. We are lots of lovely trails to the nature. So do join this organization. Please get in connect. Thank you.
Thank you all for the participating. In Vijaya, it was really very excellent